Folks, welcome back to another Painting Minis with Dan and Sam video. We want to thank you for joining us. We certainly appreciate it. Today's episode is pretty cool. Dan's going to be continuing his Trauma A pack treatment with doing the Security 1 miniature. And then I'll be continuing the Lawman A pack with my treatment of the Officer or the Trooper 1 mini. So these are a couple really cool miniatures. A lot of the same color palette is being used, so there won't be so much divergence there, but still interesting miniatures, great detail. Let's get down to the table and let's get painting.
Welcome back, everyone, as we continue our painting series. This is Dan from Monster Fight Club, and I'm going to be painting Security 1 from the Trauma Team faction. So he's going to be painted up just like his buddy here, because they are traveling in standard uniform, but I want to show you some details on a different pose so you can get a better idea of where some of these colors should go. So we're going to start off with a darker color for his skin with Rhinox hide, a little bit of change of pace and detail and everything, and then we're going to get right into the contrast Eldari Emerald. I love this color because, again, it gives you that almost medical scrubs look underneath their armor plates. Like, these guys are regular doctors or paramedics, and they're coming to, do whatever they get hired to do and, hurt whoever gets in their way. So spreading this around, trying to get a nice coverage. Again, very messy in these early stages here, but we clean it up with the other colors that we add on to later, starting with the lowest and then moving our way higher and higher. Next, we switch to Eshin Gray. This is going to be for straps, some of the armor plates, ties around the legs, the belts, the harness that holds the body armor together here, the chin straps and everything. Just a nice darker color to really go contrasting well against the brighter white of his armor plates. So again, just making sure getting all the details here, clearing up the Eldari green. And don't worry if you make any mistakes. Again, the base colors are pretty easy. You can just always go back to them and clean them up. So we switch now to Ulthuan Gray. This is going to be for the majority of the armor plates here. It really brings it that white paramedic looking shine. Again, it looks great against the green, looks great against the red of the logo and everything, but just trying to be as neat as possible, getting them to the lower armor plates and things around like the biceps and triceps. Over to the shin guards, avoiding the bags, so we're going to use a different color for that, but the belt buckles, the wrist plates, his chin strap, I said. And then we're going to switch to lead belcher for the metallics. This will be for the gun, and this will be for the different belt buckles and everything. A couple other metal armor pieces, the head piece on his helmet. He's scanning the area in the crowd, making sure no one's interfering while they're operating on whoever they've been hired by. Again, apologize for the camera angle here, but we switched to Mephiston Red, which is my favorite red here, and this looks great on the logo. Again, this logo is three-dimensional, really pops out from the character, so putting this color onto all these levels really makes them stand out and draws attention to them. You can see the models pretty much coming together. A little bit on the armor plates, switching over to Administratum Gray. Now, this is a little bit darker than Ulthuan Gray, but I wanted to have a little bit of difference here going with the pouches, so make them look like they're cloth and not armor. Caldor Sky for the eye visor, the scope on the bag for a little extra detail. And then we do use our thin down combo of Nuln Oil. It's like almost a 1-to-1, maybe 2-to-1 medium to Nuln Oil mix here, so you get more of a gray wash than a black wash. It brings all these colors together, but still gives you shadows, but doesn't darken down the lighter plates and everything. Once that's dry, going back to Ulthuan Gray, this will brighten up the armor back to that nice pristine white. Just take your time here, be careful, avoid the recesses as much as possible. And you can see the shadows are really starting to form here on the helmet, on the breastplate, the shoulder pads, and it's really starting to pop on this model. Go across the knee pads here, leaving those little three-dimensional divots on there. Touching up a few other colors, I added corn red onto the gloves and to the soles of the boots, again, just like the previous model. Touching up the red with Wild Rider red to make it a little brighter, a little bit more three-dimensional, give it a little extra pop. And you can see this model is already standing out and looking terrific here. I went with Teclis Blue across the same parts of blue, again, give it a little two-tone look, touch up the skin a little bit, and there you have it. Security 1 for the Trauma Team, ready to protect his buddy while he's operating and shoot at anybody who gets in his way. Thanks for watching. Tune in next time.
Hey folks, welcome back. This is the Trooper 1 or Officer Mini from the Lawman A pack, and it's actually very similar to Sarge that you've already seen painted. They're all wearing the same police officer uniform, so there's a lot of similarities between the sculpts, and there's also going to be a lot of similarities between the paints that we use and the colors that we use. So we're going back with the ultramarine blue that we used on Sarge as well, just trying to get a nice even coverage on this. It's going to go on thin, so we are going to have to come back and do a couple of extra coats on that. But the cool thing about having similar minis is that you can really do a good job speed painting them, because you already know where all of the different nuances of the model are pretty much, and where you want those colors to go. Here I'm moving on to a matte black for his armor, basically the tactical vest, using a little bit of a technique here that I messed up there a little bit, but basically just taking the brush and making it perpendicular to the surface so that it doesn't get down into the recesses of that word police. So I messed up, had to go back, but here I'm trying to fix it up a little bit. It turned out okay. Continuing with the matte black on all of the different metallic armor pieces, we're just using that as a base color, and we're going to dry brush a gunmetal on that later on, and then touch up highlights with shining silver, so it's going to look pretty cool. Anyway, using that matte black for all of these different belts and straps and pouches and all that kind of stuff, then we're going to use a lot of the different colors we're going to put over that are going to be using a dry brush technique, so you'll see what's going on there. Here I'm starting that dry brush technique on his armors, his leg armors. This is just gunmetal, but there's not a whole lot of paint on the brush, so it is just really touching the upper edges of the model, doing the same thing on the helmet. Now I'm using a Shrieker gray, but still using that same dry brush technique, so it just puts down that color on the top edges of that flak jacket. Now I'm coming back with some crystal blue and touching up the different areas of the blue police officer uniform that he's wearing. It's a little bit of a lighter blue than the ultramarine, so it does that. Now I'm going back and touching up the shoulder pads, which are white, and the elbow pads, which are also white, that white armor that kind of differentiates itself there. So of course we use gunmetal on all the little buckles and straps and extra magazines that he has around. But here I'm doing a visor. Was thinking I was going to highlight a little bit of white, didn't like it, wiped it off, and then just kind of did a little bit of a dry brush with crystal blue and then a little bit of white as well. Now we're just touching up the base, being really kind of messy here because I wanted a little extra texture in the paint for that base, because we're going to come back with some ash gray and dry brush it once it dries, so that it has that texture of kind of like an asphalt street that's there. So once that's done, we're going to come back and touch up the sides of the base with just a matte black, make sure it's nice and smooth, and it kind of differentiates itself from the top of the base. And after that, he's pretty much done. This is a simple model. This is a great pack to speed paint, because all of the molds are pretty much the same with just slight nuances. But here he is, Trooper 1 in all of his glory. So thanks for joining us, and we're going to get on out of here.
That's about it for today's episode. We want to thank you again for joining us. We absolutely appreciate you taking time out of your schedule to do that. Next week, we'll be continuing with Dan doing the prepaid pickup miniature that comes in the Trauma Team A pack. Then I'll be finishing up the Lawman A pack with the Riot Trooper 1. So that will be cool. As you can see, we're still focusing on our monster scenery Metropolis stuff, Metropolis cityscapes. Keep an eye open on our social media channels for more information on when that limited release is going to happen. It's going to be cool. It's going to be awesome. And this is great terrain. So keep an eye on our social media channels for that. But until then, we'll see you guys and gals on the flip side. Take care.